I've heard people say for the last 3 to 5 years that they really believe that Arizona's housing market is headed for a crash. I get it. I hear things like, I've seen this before and I'm not going to get caught up in this again. I know what it was like because I went through it too. I was selling real estate before, during, and after all the craziness. The big one I hear always is, how much farther can prices really go up? That's a great question. To be honest, I completely understand, especially considering that in 2020, our housing prices went up 21% here in the Phoenix, Scottsdale area where I live. It's just bananas. How much farther can prices really go up? What will actually happen in 2020? I'm Shawn Shackelton, your Scottsdale realtor. So the question of the year is, how much farther will prices go up, if they do at all? And should I buy, or should I wait 6, 8, 12 months before I buy? So we really started to hear people talking about another housing crash in about March or April of 2020, right when our pandemic really hit hard here in the US. And it was when businesses were being shut down, people were losing their jobs, everybody was just very unsure about what was going to happen. But what actually happened was we saw inventory decrease pretty significantly, but more people were hitting the market because we have historically low interest rates. Because of these low interest rates, we had a lot of new buyers that came into the market, or those buyers that had been sitting on the fence for a while, they all jumped in because they realized their buying power. Because of that, our housing prices skyrocketed. I will say that March and April of 2020 did start to feel like 2008 because I was there. But what happened is that we saw people, again, taking their homes off the market. They were a little wary about people walking through their homes. They wanted to be as safe as possible, which I completely understand. I personally had a house that I had listed. We had it under contract. We were on the last day of the inspection, and the buyers canceled purely based on the pandemic. They just didn't know what was going to happen. So 2 weeks later, they came back, we put it back under contract, and they actually closed on the home. So we saw things like that happen in a lot of different places and with a lot of different clients. And to be honest, a lot of us needed to figure out what was going to be best to protect our clients through this whole pandemic and COVID issue. In Arizona, our home prices have had a pretty steady increase since about 2011, with a little bit of a balanced market in 2014, and they have just gone steadily up from there. So if you take away all the COVID craziness and all the pandemic just banananess, our real estate market never sees a steady incline. It never sees a steady decline. It goes up and down, and that is how it's always happened. Our market is always cyclical. People like to say that there's normally a big decrease, or at least a significant decrease, every about 5 to 7 years. So for many people, they say we're due. The difference right now is that we are in a real big supply and demand issue, which then affects the housing prices. So as a buyer or a potential buyer, you start to really wonder, is now the right time for me to buy, or should I wait? So when you really start to look at our market and to see whether or not our home prices are going to start to see a decrease, there are a few factors that would really attribute to that decrease. Now, whether that decrease is gradual or drastic, that's the question. But there are really only a few things that are going to affect whether our home prices actually come down. The first one would be the interest rate. Right now, we're at about 2.5% to 3.5%. I mean, we are historically low. I remember when my husband and I bought our first house quite a few years ago, not to date myself, but my father-in-law looked at what our interest rate was. It was 7%. And he said, holy cow, buy right now. I've never seen interest rates this low. You are getting an amazing deal. But even if we started to see interest rates go to 4 or 5%, that would affect people's buying power. And so it would probably decrease the amount of buyers that we saw in the market right now. Just increasing that interest rate to 4 to 5% from where it is right now, it's going to cost people potentially hundreds, if not thousands of dollars additional in their mortgage payment. It's all going to be based on the home price and the mortgage amount. So I always do this, small side tangent. Buyers, I have to speak directly to you right now. Do you realize the amount of your buying power because of the low interest rate? Do you realize that you could afford a home that was more that is more money today than it was 5 years ago, and your mortgage payment would be less than it would have been 5 years ago? That's huge. That is an enormous buying power to take advantage of right now. I know we're going to talk about what do we see in the 2020 market. We'll get there. But I just want to make sure that you realize the amount of buying power you have right now, just purely based on the interest rate. So are interest rates going to go up in 2021? We don't know. We don't have a crystal ball, but what I can tell you is what the feds have said. And their plan is to keep our interest rates this low until 2023. So there's still time. This means that there are going to be a lot of buyers out there trying to take advantage of this to buy their dream home. So the other factor that could increase home prices is higher inventory. How would we get more inventory in 2021? So looking back again at March or April of 2020, we started to see home sellers really pull back, really take their homes off the market. And a lot of that was out of fear. And quite honestly, I do not blame them. We just didn't know what was going on. We were at the beginning of our pandemic. People were doing the absolute best they could to stay safe, both personally and for their entire families. We had just had a stay-at-home order and people were very afraid. So once we moved through that, people began to get their feet under them again, and they started to have a little bit more confidence that they could actually put their home on the market and stay safe. When that happened, we really saw an increase in buyers as well, because they also felt safe to actually go out and physically look at homes. This is what started our real sharp increase in prices. I know that some of the sellers are still keeping their homes off the market if they can, because again, they just still have a little bit of fear out there, which again is completely up to you. But at some point we will see those sellers put their homes on the market, and these buyers are going to come at them like a frenzy. Because our inventory has been so low and has remained so low, I have had buyers, we cannot find homes. And so what it's led us to do is to go into some of these new construction locations here in the North Scottsdale and Phoenix area. If you'd like more information about that, just reach out to me or check out that other video. Because I help many people both buy and sell their home at the same time, right now is particularly scary for them because they want to sell their house, they want a new house, but their fear is that they can't or won't be able to find what it is they're looking for. I just want buyers to hear this, or sellers, I should say, to hear this. We will find it. It is out there. It just takes some experience, knowing where to go, what to look for, who to call, who to talk to, having a great network of agents that you can reach out to know about homes that are coming before they actually hit the market. I have done this with quite a few buyers and sellers during this whole time, and it has worked out seamlessly. So don't fear. It can be done. It's a little trickier, but you're in great hands. But because of this, because of the sellers fearing that they won't be able to find something, this is one of the factors that is contributing to our inventory staying as low as it is. At this time of our year, or the early part of our year, it's very normal to also talk about the seasonality of our Scottsdale, Phoenix real estate market. It's very seasonal, normally. This year and 2020, we are seeing zero seasonality. The normal curve of our seasonality in our market is just non-existent this year. Again, I guess it's something that we could have assumed. It's something that we should have expected, knowing now what we know. But when we were in the beginning of it, we just didn't know how long it was going to last, just like everyone else. We didn't know what it was going to mean. Now, again, I can tell you we have no seasonality. We normally see our inventory increase in the beginning part of our year. We are not seeing that right now. Although we are seeing it go up, we're also seeing homes come off the market very, very quickly. Those people that do want to sell, the historically low interest rates are giving them a great bit of confidence so that they can, with the great help, they can put their house on the market, go find the house that they want to buy, and take advantage of these really low interest rates so that they can secure, again, a mortgage, maybe on a home that's larger than the home that they have, costs more money for almost the same amount of money every single month. One of the other contributing factors to why our home prices are going up so drastically is that we have got so many people moving to Arizona. It is a beautiful place to live. It's a gorgeous state. People that haven't been here, they just don't know until they get here. Once they get here, they are mesmerized. They always say to me, I had no idea the desert was this beautiful. And then they want to stay, or at least they want to buy a second home. And because of this growth, not only for primary residents, but also for seasonal residents, this is another factor that is keeping our inventory low. These homes come on the market and they're gone very quickly. This will be another contributing factor to why our home prices will continue to go up in 2021. When I've talked about some of these things with some of my clients and people that have called me, they always bring up the issue of the forbearance and what is going to be the contributing factor there, and that whole thought process of waiting because they want to see the forbearance happen. Maybe there's going to be a flood of short sales or a flood of foreclosures on the market like we saw in 2007, 2008. What I talk to them about is that we are just not seeing that. I'll show you in this graph right here what we're seeing as far as the foreclosures and the amount of trustee sales that we have. It's very insignificant. The government program that is called forbearance does end in 2021, and many again feel that that could increase the influx of short sales or foreclosures into our market. So if you're unfamiliar with what forbearance is, it was actually a government relief program. So if you had lost your job, had a financial hardship, you were able to contact your mortgage company and they would either defer those payments to the end of your mortgage, or they would give you a few months relief and then you would have to become due. Again, the thought with many people is, what kind of effect is that going to have on the market in 2021? Well, let's take a look at the numbers. So right now we are seeing under 3 million Americans in some type of forbearance relief program. Back in May, there were 4.78 million Americans in the forbearance relief program. So now let's take a look back at 2008 and the housing crisis. There were over 10,000 delinquent mortgages back then. Substantial difference to right now. We will not see a repeat of 2008. Will some people go into foreclosure? Yes, unfortunately, we will see that. How many? It's yet to be seen. But again, in the graph that I showed you just a little bit ago, you can see right here in Arizona, and actually in the Phoenix market, our notice of trustee sale is significantly lower than 2008. So let's review. Inventory is low. Normally, this time of year in the Phoenix Scottsdale area, we have 20 to 23,000 active listings. Right now, we have 5,400. So, for those people that are in forbearance that can't become current, could put their home on the market, could sell it, and could possibly avoid foreclosure. They will likely have a little bit of equity in their home. They could walk away with a little bit of money. They could walk away just breaking even. But overall, they could completely avoid foreclosure just based on this scenario. Here's a look at what the pending foreclosures look like. The top line is 2018 and the bottom two lines are 2019 and 2020. The lowest is 2020. We don't have the numbers for 2021 just yet, but it's looking like it's going to follow suit. So what are all my thoughts about this? Demand is really high and we don't see that going down anytime soon. Therefore, we don't foresee prices coming down either. We are starting to see some buyers get frustrated because they've been outbid time and time again, but we are having more buyers come into our market that are desperate for homes, that are paying over the list price, waiving appraisals, waiving inspections, just so they can take advantage of our low interest rates and secure the home that they really, really want. So will we see a housing crash in 2021? My prediction, no. I see steady increase in pricing. We might level out a little bit, but I doubt we will level out that much just based on what we have seen in the market, what our inventory is, what the demand is. We are not going to see a crash in 2021. I know buyers continually hear that we are in a seller's market, we're in a seller's market, we're in a seller's market. And I believe that most are told, don't buy in a seller's market. You only want to buy in a buyer's market. Well, I want to show you a chart that will illustrate why that is bad advice. So let's look at our seller's market right now. So you buy in the beginning of a seller's market and prices start to increase. Guess what? Your asset, your largest asset that you could possibly buy, is also increasing in price. Look at the chart now. In the last buyer's market, you're buying in a buyer's market and you're buying a declining asset. The prices are going down. So people say, I'm going to time the market. I don't know anybody that can time the market. And I know some pretty smart people that analyze our market every single day. They can't even time our market. So if I can impart one piece of wisdom on you, it is this. The price of the home is the last factor that shifts during a shifting market. The price is the last thing you want to look at. There are so many other factors that happen before the prices actually start to react. So when we actually hit the peak of our market, prices still might go up another 10, 15, or 20% before they come down a little just to go back up a little bit more. So what should buyers do? You should buy now. Take advantage of these low interest rates while we still have them. Interest rates will change, which will affect your buying power. So you can always wait until 2022. I mean, it's just another year, but let's face it, we just don't know what's going to happen. If 2020 has taught us anything, it's that we have no idea what's going to happen. So if you're thinking about buying, just make sure the timing is right for you. It's not right for everyone, but for a lot of people out there, the timing is great. But if you're going to sit there and just continue to wait and sit on your hands, what you might realize after a year is that you've just waited a little bit too long. You could have started building equity in the home for buying it now. And depending on what market you're in, just anticipate that you are going to need to be aggressive. You may need to offer a little bit over list price. You may need to waive some inspections. You may need to do some things creatively to make sure that your offer is accepted. Make sure you're working with a great realtor that can guide you through that. Which brings me to my last point. I have been a full-time real estate agent for 23 years and have lived in Scottsdale since 2001. If I can help you find your dream home, please reach out. I'm happy to help. If you're looking in some of the surrounding areas, don't worry, I've got you covered there too. Make sure you check out some of my other videos on Scottsdale. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.